Welcome, one and all. We are back, and you are back on track with the Brain Software Podcast, coming at you from Toronto, Canada, the hypnotic world epicenter. I'm Chris Thompson. This is episode 268, and today, hypnosis and NLP trainer Mike Mandel and I will discuss distinctions that can change your life and make it so much better, and a whole bunch more, so stay tuned.
Disclaimer. Have you ever noticed that disclaimer and dick both start with the same first two letters? What are the odds?
Yeah, I'll tell you the odds, thanks once again. It's pretty well, certainly up here in Meaford and most of Grey County, where we grow more moronic dicks per capita than anywhere else on Earth and that.
And by the way, can you really stop us? Can you stop us at all?
But whatever happened to the Red Rooster Diner once Eddard and Duder bought it? And can you still get a good grilled cheese sandwich with a side of fries there?
No, you can't, because the dicks can't cook anything edible. I once went over to Eddard's for supper, and he gave me a small chunk of pepperoni and a damn little bag of potato chips, so not exactly Chef Gordon Ransom here.
These are days of victory! So let's bring to the very center of the hypnotic vortex a man who financially supports the Trevor Tilling Institute for Surrogate Beer Drinking. A man who truly believes, along with W.V. Quine, that the Gostics dissed him the doshes. Because he's the Keith Richards of hypnosis, Mike Mandel!
I can't believe I actually quoted Quine and got you to say the Gostax dissed him the
I don't even know what it means.
It's not
Don't even
linguistics.
care.
I'll tell you over lunch.
Okay.
So interesting. So anyway, usual banter and promos, anything?
Yeah, we
No,
got our
let's just
May Architecture of Hypnosis coming up. I'm about to give a URL, so remain silent. Mike Mandel, hypnosis.com. You're going to want to come and hang out with us in Toronto in May of 2025. It's the spring. The weather becomes nice and beautiful and warm, and we're going to teach you awesome hypnosis. But today, this episode isn't really about hypnosis at all. I said that weird.
Yeah, I did.
We're going to talk about some distinctions in this episode that will make your life better, and I need you to come more onto frame.
Am
So,
way ahead of
We
you.
did another episode on this back in 180, I think episode 186. We did an episode on distinction. So it's been a long time, and we've come up with several more that we think are useful, and that's what today is going to be all about.
Brilliant.
Before we do that, though, we got to get to the think tank words.
And we're going to fly through these
Yeah.
Packers today. So let's say I got these online noun generator. I don't know the think tank at the cabin. Hospital, confusion, and food. Oh, tell me those three don't tell a
right.
story right away.
Okay, well, hospital definitely makes me think about a term you taught me years ago called incidentaloma.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
The idea
Dr.
that,
Saul Benarach.
yeah, if once you get into the system, they might find stuff and then they can screw you up by intervening on things that weren't necessarily requiring an intervention.
Because the calibration of machines now is finer and finer. They can be looking for something with a specific test and discover something else, which is called an incidentaloma. And it might be something that would never affect you, but now that leads to more tests.
Right.
And Saul Benarach, an MD, said this is a problem.
And it leads me to think about the reticular activating system
too,
and
buddy.
how if you start tuning your RAS, your reticular activating, towards things that aren't necessarily so helpful, you just waste a lot of time and energy. So
Yeah,
that's
I
what
still
hospital leads me to think right now.
Brilliant.
All right. Confusion.
All right, confusion. I'm confused as to how
Where
we're gonna
are we?
finish this. I don't know
Where
what
are
the
we?
hell's going on. I drove through the fog today. That was confusing, and my software on my car was going off like a crazy monkey. But anyway, confusion. I think of confusion. I think of Erickson saying that, and here's the hypnosis connection. Confusion was a major part of much of his hypnotic work, or inductions at least.
Right.
What do you
That's
think
right,
with
because
confusion?
I don't know what's left
You sound confused.
after we discuss all that's right about hypnosis.
What are you talking
All right,
about?
there you go.
Okay.
Food.
Well, food's an obvious one.
Source of energy, but also source of nutrition.
Yes.
And so food is, I was listening to a podcast on, who was it that I posted it in the Brain Software community the other day. It was a podcast. I think it was Joe Rogan, actually. Yeah, it was Joe Rogan. He interviewed a brother and sister. I accidentally thought it was a married couple. It's actually a brother and sister. And they're both MDs, and the sister is a former surgeon and I think Stanford Medical School. And the whole podcast was very interesting about how all these ultra processed foods that people eat are the major source of almost all disease. That is
that's
affecting
very
people these
interesting.
days. Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Also, when you mention that, you talk about food as nutrition and so on, but also remember, there's a mythology with a lot of people who are morbidly obese that that's the way their body is. And nothing can be done about it, which
Right.
denies the laws of physics. Because my mom and dad survived World War II in Britain with the rationing. And do you know, rationing, when rationing happens, obesity does not exist.
Yeah.
Obesity disappears completely during rationing. Everybody's thin.
Yeah. Well, forced fasting, I suppose. We'll
Well,
do that.
that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, but there's others better ways to do it, but we're not going to talk about
No, we're not
that
saying you should
in
have a
this
freaking
episode.
war.
Actually, we may have some distinctions that come to food. We'll see.
we'll
see where
see.
we go. But before we get to distinctions, we said in our last episode that we were going to push out a couple of concepts
Right.
that we wanted to mention, and one is we did a TikTok or YouTube or whatever short on it recently too. It's from this book here that was recommended to me a few years ago, and I'm finally reading it. It's called Magic Words by Tim David. I don't know who he is, and he probably doesn't know who I am, but I'm reading your book, Tim. Maybe I'll find you on social and
Close to
tag
my eye
you.
with the corner of that.
So there's a whole bunch of neat stuff in this book, but here's one, and I brought this up with you, and I'll just throw it out.
Sure.
We often talk about power language and how words can be used effectively or ineffectively. Words like try that imply failure.
Yes.
People screw that up, right? Like I used to ask my former roommate many years ago, also named Tim, are you going to return that Blockbuster DVD on time so you don't have late charges? I'll try to get around to it after work today. You knew he was going to not return it and have a late charge. Anyway, words like that. The word but, that was the subject of the piece of this book that I wanted to discuss. We often talk about the word but and how when someone says to you, let's say, do you like Sally? Oh, yeah, I think Sally's pretty nice, but, and then whatever comes after it, but, I really don't like the way she's constantly interrupting
How are you
people.
spelling but in this example?
But, B-U-T.
Okay.
Yeah, not B-U-T-T.
I wondered.
There you go.
Wondered where you
So
were going with
whenever
this.
somebody says, I don't like so-and-so, or I like so-and-so, but then offers a reason that, is counter to it, what happens is it tends to delete in the mind. The focus is not on, yes, I like so-and-so, but the focus is on what comes after but.
Right.
So it almost acts as like an eraser, right?
Yeah.
And that's how we've constantly and repeatedly taught.
Right. The example, do you like my new house? Oh, it's really nice, but...
Yeah.
You're crazy being this close to the road with the little kids. No, you don't hear that it was really nice. You just
Exactly.
hear that you made a mistake.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the ways that we have combated that in the past is to teach people to use and instead of but. And that's still very effective and it's very, very useful. So Sally's very nice and it would be nice if she didn't interrupt so often or something like that, right? That's fine because now we're focusing on both.
That's a string
But
sentence.
there's a great way to just change the order to put the attention on what you want the person to remember.
Which will be the thing they hear
Yeah.
last.
So let's say you have a new restaurant. I think this was the topic I did on a video, right? There's a new restaurant. It's kind of expensive. You'd like to try it. You want to suggest it. You could say, hey, Mike, I'd like to try this new restaurant, but it's a bit expensive.
Well, I'm not going if it's
Yeah.
expensive.
So instead I can say,
care.
hey, Mike, I know it's a bit expensive, but I'd really like to try this new highly rated restaurant.
That sounds good. Where is it?
So
yes, it's
I wanted to
instantly
just
smooths away.
Yeah. So we could talk about that, but anyway, it's Magic Words, Tim David. It's not a new book; it's just new to me. Thoughts on that?
Well, the obvious one comes to mind, which I'm going to ask this for all of you right now who are wondering. What was the Blockbuster video he didn't read? Did I?
That's hilarious. Oh man, he was notorious. They would always be in the back seat not in the back seat.
we
in
couldn't
the
see them.
Back on the floor,
Yeah.
and I'd leave for work and I'd look into his little Honda Prelude.
Yeah.
He's got him. That's been there a week.
And you're paying a full $1 a day in late charge.
Back in the day when you had to rent the physical DVD or before that VHS. Anyway, all right. So that was the thing that I wanted to mention that was reserved from the last podcast.
excellent.
We had one other thing as well, didn't we?
Well, let's have a look.
Let me just check
Have a
our
look. We
notes.
got everything here.
Oh,
Everything.
the hypnosis and dentistry discussion. We've already moved that to
Yeah,
this
we've
podcast,
already-
so it's
yeah,
fine.
so-
Okay,
okay.
great. So let's continue
Let's
on.
continue with this one.
All right, so we're going to start with
What?
Winston Churchill to Dracula.
Okay. Now, I've already given the hint last
Yes.
week. If you put Gary Oldman in between, Oldman in between, because a brilliant British actor. I didn't know he's British. I thought he was American. Now it's explained so much. Any role he's played, you can get to Dracula. Now, he played Winston Churchill. He won an Academy Award for it just recently. So you got Winston Churchill to Dracula, just Winston Churchill to Gary Oldman to Dracula. It's done. So it's the fun minimum number of steps. I mean, that's so freaking elegant. I'm surprised nobody else is doing this.
Oh, you know what I never told you? Remember when we were up at the cottage and we happened to be at the grocery store at the time, and it was my nephew Samuel's birthday.
Oh, great kid.
And we made a little video to say happy birthday to him. And you said, birthday to Dracula.
Right.
Even though that was just a background comment that you shouted, yesterday he sent me a video back and he says, okay, birthday to Dracula in his awesome little Polish Spanish English accent.
Yeah.
And birthday to bad birthday to Dracula having a bad birthday to Dracula.
That was really clever. I'm giving him a solid 10 out of 10 just for the sheer creativity.
Right. So Samuel, awesome job. Let's talk about some stuff now. So, where do you want to go? Oh, Q&A. Before we get to distinctions, let me frame this and then you talk about it.
Go for it.
We did a Q&A session for our MMHA, our Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy students. And one of the questions that came up with was like a person saying, I'd like to be hypnotized, but this person was very analytical. And so the hypnotist would offer the instructions and offer the language, and the subject kept interrupting and being annoying.
Yeah, and asking
how do you
questions.
deal with that?
Well, what are you doing right now? Like, why are you asking? Instead of just going into trance, I said, I would treat this, I'd say to the person, if you have to undergo thoracic surgery, will you be telling the doctor you don't want anesthetic so you can coach him through the experience? Or are you just going to let him
ask him every single, why are you making a decision?
Or are you going to let him do his frickin' job?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
and I think I had a similar in a metaphorical way, a similar way of deconstructing this going. Imagine that you hired somebody to put new cabinets into your kitchen, right? They presented you the design. This is what we want. Yep, that's what I want. Okay, perfect. They start doing the work and you're following them around, bugging them, interrupting their work to ask them, oh, why are you putting the hinges on that side? And why are you using those particular fasteners to attach the cabinets to the drywall?
Terrible.
And, how are you going to make sure that they're level?
The bane of any tradesman.
It's like, F off.
Yeah, and don't be a dick.
Get out of here.
Yeah,
do the dick chant.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with this? What are some of the things
Well,
that
you
we
bring
suggest?
it to their attention, and this is what I call the Stevenson's Marina problem. When we had our cabin on Hikes Island, where I stayed overnight and got freaked myself out with my imagination
Remember that
50
story.
years ago, or something like that, 40 years ago. Anyway, Mr. Stevenson had the marina. He probably still does, but he had the pricing sign for fixing boats and motors and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'll make up the numbers. Hourly rate, $8 an hour. If you watch, $12 an hour.
That's right.
If you help, $15 an hour.
Yeah,
I thought, right
unbelievable.
on.
That's
right
it.
on.
That's
so
it.
I would explain that to the person, and I would use the doctor example. Let the expert do their job, and just, do you want to get rid of this problem, or do you want to do a running commentary on everything I do?
Or do you want to experience hypnosis, or do you want to experience analyzing me doing hypnosis?
Right. Now, having said that too, just a quick 15-second shout out. When we had Desiree Eckert as our guest trainer,
yes,
she did some great examples of this, using an iPhone to have someone who has all these issues to go into trance by looking at their iPhone. She calls it microdosing hypnosis. I thought it was freaking brilliant.
Brilliant. I made the comment that I thought microdosing hypnosis was going to have something to do with microdosing on, because
one-track mind.
That's one topic that people actually talk about these days, is microdosing on whatever
psilocybin or something.
Drugs. Yeah, I don't know the drugs that kids are using these days.
These kids.
And going under hypnosis with that. Anyway, no, it is a metaphor for microdosing, as in doing very miniature hypnosis sessions because of the short attention span these days, which led Desiree to come up with this awesome induction.
Yes, it's
where
utilization. It's what they're already doing.
Steal the anchor of the scrolling through Facebook trance or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, the replay is already up in the Academy, Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy. So if you go to our website, the homepage is MikeMandelHypnosis.com. You can sign up and you can check out this awesome training that Desiree did and all the other guest trainers that have ever existed in the MMHA. They're all there for you, archived. So there you go, sales pitch.
Great work, Des.
All right. Let's talk about some distinctions.
Right. Well, where would you like to start?
Well, we mentioned that the last time we discussed distinctions, and distinctions are things that we observe,
The
things
difference that makes
we
a difference.
notice
Yeah.
that really make a difference. They're the little differences that can make big differences. You know, I think about, on the last episode, I talked about how I caught that skunk in a live trap and then released him into
And
the
he was
wild.
unharmed.
Yeah. Well, when I was a kid, I don't know if I ever told you this, but when I was a kid, I was experimenting with, I just wanted to see if I could build a trap and catch an animal alive, right? So I used a mouse trap,
Bastard.
the normal mouse trap that kills the mouse.
You had to
I put a nail to block the trapping
Right,
so
right.
that what would happen, I wanted to catch a raccoon or a bunny or a groundhog or something like that. So I built a big box with chicken wire all around it. On the floor, I put a normal mouse trap with bait, and I just
normal
put
one.
like a nail, bent over nail, to stop the trap mechanism
Right.
from injuring the animal.
Yeah.
And instead it would pull a string, which would pull a pencil out of the door, which was spring loaded, and it would slam shut. That was the intention. So ever since
What
I was a
actually
kid,
happened?
That's what happened. I actually caught a groundhog, and it was really
Ladies and gentlemen, he won't understand this, but Chris Thompson as Rube Goldberg.
There you go. So I won't understand it. You're right. I was always interested in this, but the key was the distinction. The distinction is, or the little thing that makes the difference. So the triggering mechanism was the little thing.
Right.
It was a little movement on a mousetrap, which triggers a big movement, which is this powerful spring moves and normally kills a mouse, but in this case, just pulled a pencil.
Now,
out
this is
of the door.
interesting. They've always talked about making a better mousetrap.
Yeah.
And the simplest mousetrap has only 2 parts. Did you know that?
No.
It's just wood, and there's a Gillette Blue Blade, razor blade across at the end. And the mouse comes up, puts his head over the blade, and goes, "Where's the cheese?" I'm a comic genius. Okay, so that's a distinction.
Okay, that's funny. So distinctions are little things that cause big changes.
Now, I'm going to make sure that there's some degree of overlap between things like distinctions and reframes. And so we're going to have to sort of clarify this.
Yeah, like maybe before we even go on and very briefly
Yes.
describe what is a reframe.
Well, a reframe changes the meaning of something or gives us
Right.
a context where it's usable. So I mean, the old Erickson one is the woman sees the footprints on her rug and thinks that it's filthy. And in reality, the reframe was, it shows you're not alone. Your family with you. And that.
Yeah, so that's a little thing that you notice, a little thing that serves to reframe.
Right.
So that's the thing that changes, is the distinction is the thing you notice, or the thing that you decide, or the thing that you focus on, whatever, the action. And then the result is, in her case, the reframe is the result.
No, yes. Now tell us the distinction you made about stuff on the bedroom floor.
On the bedroom. Makes no. Oh, the bedroom floor.
Yes.
I thought you were going to a different. Okay. Yeah, we'll start with a bunch of distinctions here. So this comes down to the distinction of, in a relationship, learning how to be flexible in the areas that aren't particularly important to you, but are important to the other person.
Oh, that's good.
So this can be a marriage, business relationship, etc. Oh, there you go.
Stuff really
Distinction.
comes out.
Almost knocked over a coffee. Here was the distinction. So my wife is clean and tidy, and I would tend to get ready for bed and just leave my clothes in a pile on my side of the bed on the floor.
Lazy.
And then I'd get up, and if it was dark, I'd put on new stuff. And so this pile would emerge. She was not a big fan of that. It
Can't
wasn't
imagine why.
important to me that there exists this pile of clothing. That was not important to me.
Right.
I was just being lazy. So once I realized that it was important to her not to have that pile, it was very easy for me to go, okay, well, I'll just clean it up then on a regular basis without being asked. And that will make my marriage better because she'll be happier and not annoyed by me, right? So little things like that. What can you notice that are things that another person really cares about? You don't really care all that much. You're just being lazy or inflexible. And if you become more flexible, the other person's going to be happier.
Brilliant. I totally get it. And I'll give you a similar example with my wife. My wife is a pickleball fanatic, and she's gotten pretty good. She's been playing for a few years now. And this year, they voted her yesterday the most improved of everybody because
Nice.
she's doing really well. She got a brand new rock paddle. I won't even tell you how much I paid for this. Anyway, so this power paddle with spaces in it and all this stuff. But she was playing pickleball like maybe 4 times a week. Now, a lesser man would have gone, oh, she doesn't want to be around me. She just wants to see all those other people. Well, no, I realized human givens theory says one of our human givens that we desperately need to survive and be thriving is a social group. We need a group, a tribe that we belong to. An MMH is a freaking tribe. MH Engage, we have a tribe with thousands of students in it, and it's great. And I reframed it, and the distinction was reframing that changed everything. Just that little thing. So now I don't frame it as, oh, she's playing pickleball too much. I say, she's out with new friends, and it's really, really good for her.
It is, and it gives you something to
everything.
talk about after when she's back. So, yeah, absolutely. It makes tons of sense.
Now, what about you taking naps?
No, I got another one before that.
Uh-oh.
I want to mention this one. This was kind of cool. So when my wife and I were on our riverboat cruise back in September, October, now by the time this is out there, it's like late November, I think. So this was late summer, early fall. Anyway, we went on our riverboat cruise. One of the things that we did as an excursion was a bike ride in Germany. And it was a 34-kilometer bike ride.
Wow.
My wife likes to ride on the Peloton, but she's not really so much on the road, doesn't like hills and stuff like that. And unfortunately, given that she's only 5 feet tall, the regular bicycles, even the smallest frame, did not fit her. I don't know if I told you this.
You did not. You kept this information
the
from
cruise
me.
manager, Nicola, awesome guy. He's like, well, we only have kids' bikes other than this, but they're really small. Now, he's about 6'4", so really small to him is different than really small to my
it's like
wife.
a toy bike to him.
So she goes, well, bring me the kids' bike. Brought the kids' bike. Kids' bike actually fit. It was fine.
No training wheels.
She rode the kids' bike. Didn't really enjoy it all that much. Here's what we realized. This was the distinction. I love to ride bikes. And I dreamt of like future vacations, riding a bike through Tuscany and being on one of these like tours where you go cycling through Tuscany and stop at wineries or whatever, and taste wine and get on your bike and
try to ride a bike. Yeah.
She's not into biking that much. But you know what we love doing together?
Drinking wine?
Walking.
Oh.
We would walk through all these European towns. We would walk, 15 plus kilometers per day, hours of walking. And we loved it. We would walk and explore and talk, and we walked quickly. We walked
And you
far.
got nice conversations, which you could not have on the bike the same way, unless you're on a tandem where you were side by side.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was another distinction, is like, just because I like an activity, hoping, oh, she'll probably like that too. Maybe she doesn't, right? But we both obviously like walking, and there was no convincing anyone, oh, you'll love this.
No, that's a good one.
So do things that you both enjoy. Like, yes, you can experiment with new things and saying yes to new things.
Yeah.
But find the things you already both enjoy and do more of those.
That's brilliant.
So what else did you have to?
So what's with you taking naps? I mean,
years
I'm
ago.
nap captain.
Yeah, that was another one. This is one of these things where years ago, my wife was not a big fan of afternoon naps.
For you or anyone?
For me. It was seen as, well, you're just being lazy.
Lazy
and
bastard,
and you're getting out of whatever chore or thing that I was supposed to be doing. And I don't remember when it happened, years ago, years and years ago. She realized, no, actually, Chris's power naps are only 20 minutes long. And then when he wakes up from his power nap, he actually has lots of energy and is fully engaged with everything that's going on in the family. So for years, I have not been bugged at all. If I need a nap, it's highly encouraged now.
Now she understands the distinction is it's good for you. It's not a problem. What about you letting your dog Ollie get sprayed by a skunk again? What distinctions have you made now after your dog's been sprayed twice? Your marriage has almost collapsed.
Oh my goodness. So this was, what was the distinction? I don't even remember.
I'm asking if you have found one. So you found how to trap a skunk. You got key distinctions.
Yeah, we talked about that in the last episode.
Maybe go out with your dog with a leash instead of letting him run wild.
The distinction, it was just one. I think the reason we wrote this down is because the first time he got sprayed, who knows what it could have been. A skunk wanders apparently 2+ kilometers. So the skunk could easily have made its way into my backyard. Again. Ollie happened to go out for a pee at night and of course chases the skunk, and the skunk sprays him.
Yeah.
But when it happened a second time within 3 weeks, probably a good indication that the skunk's hanging around and I need to deal with it.
Pretty much.
So that was a distinction.
And you got him far enough away that he can have a new life without coming back to your yard. We'll see if that actually happens.
Yeah.
Now, a distinction I found lately I really, really like is the count to 5 distinction. I read this in an article, and it was a researcher at a university in Scotland. Anyway, they've discovered that if you have arguments with people and they start to ramp up pretty quickly, because when we throw adrenaline into an argument, it's like throwing gasoline on a fire. So we get pissed off about something, person looks at us the wrong way, or they say that line they know sets us off, or smart.
Oh,
or
yeah, or looks
and
that
we
certain
feel the
way.
anger starting to come in. And before long, you're shouting at each other, and it's a terrible thing. Now, first of all, I attempt to live by the biblical admonition, do not let the sun go down in your anger. So my rule is, after 11 p.m., everybody's right.
That's right.
Just stop arguing. Everybody's right. But here's the thing. the distinction in this is when you begin the argument or someone starts to say, and you feel you're starting to react, instead, you mentally wait 5 seconds. Now, I do the old development of film thing that photographers did. You count with Kodaks. So you go Kodak 1, Kodak 2, Kodak 3, Kodak 4, Kodak 5. Yeah, it's an old thing for when you got your sodium hyposulfate and all this, you're developing stuff. So you count 5 seconds in your head and then you respond. Now, what happens with that 5 second pause is they said it doesn't matter if the pause is 20 seconds, whatever. 5 seconds is enough.
Diminishing return.
No greater value.
Yeah, waiting 10 seconds doesn't really help.
Escalating it because you get rid of William Twitmeyer's knee-jerk reaction, which was seen by Ivan Pavlov, who got dogs to salivate when ringing your bell and so on. Twitmeyer was right. And the reaction, instead of reacting, you are now acting. Reacting is going with the response. So give that a shot. You get in a discussion with someone, and it's great if both of you know this. Wait 5 seconds before answering. Everything stays at a nice, calm level, and nobody goes to prison.
That's a great distinction. So 5 seconds is a very small thing that can create a bigger change, the big thing, right?
Now, what's this one of you? Social media only when peddling.
Oh, yeah, I wrote that down. Okay. So one of the distinctions that I made is I do enjoy reading the news a lot. I use X as my source of news, which used to be called Twitter. I'm getting used to slowly calling it X. It's a great source of news because there's a lot of influential people, media organizations, etc., and they post. And there's good discussions and there's good summaries. Yeah. I just find that to me, it is the best source of interesting news, whether it be technology, whether it be, I don't really like reading politics that much, but sometimes it's interesting these days, whether it be investing, whether it be what's happening in the world,
right?
Whatever, I like it. But it can become a real time sink. So I think I've mentioned this in the past that I like the idea that you can take something that requires cognitive load and combine it with something that does not. For example,
something physical.
It doesn't really require much thinking to clean dishes, right? I can listen to a podcast while I'm washing dishes, while I'm vacuuming the floor, something like that, washing the car, whatever, laundry, folding. But social media, of course, when I'm reading stuff, that requires my brain. You know what doesn't require my brain? Pedaling on a Peloton. So I have a little desk that I made that just this little handlebar desk thing that I plop my laptop down on it and I pedal. And
Does
I
it
do
have a mousetrap in it?
What they call zone 2 cardio for 40 minutes, an hour, just while reading through things.
That's the fat burning cardio, is it?
Yeah, it's just great exercise.
Not the high intense one.
No, not high intensity.
Got it.
It's like you can still hold on a conversation, no problem.
That's a great thing. You're just applying it, social media, only when you're pedaling.
Yeah,
so
I made a simple rule, which is
contradictory things, but they don't require your space.
Just take like, I want to check what's going on in the world right now. Okay, go throw on your shorts and biking shoes and then do it.
All right, buddy, we're going to have to rocket through this because we still have videos to do. So we're going to go through these quickly now. I'm going to take the lead.
Yeah, you take the lead and we'll just discuss quick distinctions.
Yes. So here's a great one. Don't have it in the house.
With diet.
I can't stop drinking beer. Yeah, with diet. I just find myself eating chocolate bars at night and I can't stop myself. Well, you can.
I binge eat on.
Don't freaking buy it in the first place. You're not going to go out at 11 p.m. to buy gluten-free butter tarts somewhere, although they are very good.
Yeah, but exactly.
The distinction is don't bring it in.
If you buy at Costco the thing of butter tarts, and by the way, we had some in the house and I looked, 340 calories for a freaking, not that I'm into calorie counting.
You're sounding like you're into calories.
But from a scientific standpoint, units of energy still do matter.
Sure, they do.
And you go, holy crap, this thing that I could eat in like 3 bites
2 for
would be undone by, an hour of pedaling on the
correct
bike. Screw that.
So continue.
Don't have it in
your house. Junk food, whatever. It's easy.
Yeah, and that same with beer and wine and stuff like that. If you find yourself reaching for a can of beer in the evening or having a bottle of wine with every meal, just don't have it. Treat it like a special occasion. Okay, next.
No, let's go right to our little commercial break here.
Okay, we'll do a commercial break and then we'll come back.
Tonight on the Brookbanks Public Library channel.
Good morning, Mr. Gomez. It's a long time since I last saw you. How about a grande mild coffee with soy milk?
Es ist lange hier, seit ich Sie gesehen habe.
Wow, Mr. Gomez, that's amazing. Are you studying German?
Ja, ich studiere mit meinem Freund und 8 Kassetten.
How are you learning it? Some kind of app?
9. Mit ein Sprachführer with a book. This is the book. This one right here.
Wow, a book. That's great. It's a thick book, too. I hope you don't lose your page. I can give you a serviette to hold your place, unless you have a bookmark with you. Do you have a bookmark, Mr. Gomez?
I'm not sure. I might have one.
Larry Gomez, the man who might have a bookmark, tonight on the Benjamin Franklin Network.
One of the key distinctions I learned being on the road for over 40 years, working with rock bands, and the stories I could tell.
Oh, I love
incredible. I used to wind up hanging out with these guys afterwards. We'd all be in a hotel somewhere, partying, we were terrible, fighting with fire extinguishers and throwing pop machines downstairs and stuff. We were nuts. And that's what bands did back then in the late 70s, early 80s.
And what did you learn, Mike?
Well, it would get late at night. The guys would all be hanging out and I'd be partying. And I just want to go to bed. It's like 2:30, 3 o'clock. I got a gig the next day and I have to wake guys up and throw them out. And it was never fun. And then one day someone said to me, here's the answer. Never have the party in your room. I went, what? That was the distinction. Have the party in someone else's room. I've had enough. Bye. Go back, lock the door, go to sleep. You don't have to throw anybody out. Nobody smoking in your room. Amazing. Never have the party in your room.
All right. I'm going to go on to this one here, which is, and we've done lots of videos on this, dissociation to reduce emotions with past memories. So if you have a memory that bugs you, go back into it. And instead of seeing through your own eyes the scene, see yourself in the scene. And that's dissociated, and that will reduce emotions automatically.
Brilliant. I got a couple of quick ones for you here. This one came up the other night. My wife and I love restaurant food. We eat in a lot of restaurants. We're up here, and there's about 4 very high-end restaurants up near my cabin. Mm-hmm. We're in a couple of them, and I saw the servers doing the same thing both times. We order a nice bottle of wine.
Yep.
Don't even ask how nice. Anyway, watching the servers, they take the capsule off. Okay, that's fine. And then try to open the wine with a corkscrew. But they're doing it in the air. They're not putting it on the table. They're holding it and trying to balance it. And it doesn't work. You need support with it to just put the bottle on the table. Pick up the chicken.
Is this a life-changing distinction to you?
Put it on the table. I just say to the server, put it on the table and do it. Oh, okay. Oh, that was easy. Yes, it was. And the other one, on that same thing, another cooking one. I just love this. I got this from Tom Filippo, an amazing chef who cooked for my 50th birthday. And a bunch of us went to this thing. He cooked the whole meal for all of us.
Right.
And he said, here's how you get the smell of onions or garlic off your hands. Garlic, especially.
Oh,
he gets crushed garlic, calls me up, so I was birthday boy. Rub it all over your hands. Check how horrible it is. Yes. Runs the cold water tap. Do you know this?
No.
Cold water tap. He said, get anything stainless steel. He said, it could be the inside of the sink. Wet your hands, rub them on the stainless steel or a knife, a stainless steel knife, rub it on your fingers, rinse, smell them. No garlic smell.
No
way. It acts as a catalyst, somehow removes the garlic. You won't believe it.
Stainless steel.
Oh, fantastic.
Right. So just use the sharp end of the knife.
You know what? I think we're done here, buddy.
All right.
I think we're done. Because we got videos to do.
You're just rushing through.
I am.
Your distinction is, let's shortcut the podcast.
That's right. Well, think of it. It's 20 to 12 now.
Yeah.
So you don't need to know that.
All right.
Give us the empowering question.
We'll go to the empowering question, and hopefully you'll find some distinctions that are useful that will change your life. Since distinctions are all around us, just waiting to be found, what will you do to remember them when you discover a new one?
Brilliant. And the Metafive today, one better than a metaphor, is jury duty. A number of years ago, I was called on jury duty, and they said there's only 2 things your government asks of you. You have to serve in the military if there's a draft. You got to pay taxes. Well, there's 3, and serve on jury duty too. So I got chosen out of the jury pool. It was a crack cocaine case where a guy dealt an 8-ball of crack, which we handled in the room. People saying, oh, I've never seen crack before. Yeah, you think we have? Like we kept keep it at home. So there were 11 of us chosen, and they needed a 12th person. So we're sequestered in the jury room, and they brought in lunch, and we're going to get the 12th one after lunch. And the discussion starts among the group. We've not heard the case. We've not heard the arguments of the prosecution, nothing. And a couple of people have already decided the guy's innocent. They've just decided, oh, no, he's innocent. There's no way he did that. I said, we've not even heard any evidence. And I see this is going to go off the rails pretty quick. Now, I can't say anything that happened in the thing for life. I'm not allowed to by law. But I can tell you this, before we started debating, I went and sat at the head of the table, the power position, steepling my hands. And I said, well, what we really need to figure out here is who's going to mediate between you guys and the judge. And I pointed to the door. people, I don't want to. And someone said, well, maybe you should do it. I went, well, I suppose I could, which of course was the entire point. I'm in the anchored power position. And the one person who thought the guy was innocent said, well, maybe we should wait till after lunch and till we get the 12th person. I said, no, we've already decided. I wound up as the jury foreman. The guy got a fair trial. He jumped bail. He took off and was charged in absentia. Sometimes it works.
So the guy was probably guilty.
Yes, I think so. Well, we found him guilty.
So there you have it. Episode 268 is in the bag. Brain Software Podcast coming at you from Toronto, Canada. Go to MikeMandelHypnosis.com. You can subscribe to our mailing list by getting into our Brain Software community. That's the free community. You'll find it right on the homepage of our website. We'll see you in the next episode. Thanks once again, and say it for me.
Good night.
Good night.